So I got back from Radjunk's 10th anniversary trade night and 10th anniversary of their store opening, and did a lot of trading with them where they had certain shop stock needs, certain things I was able to provide. And also when you're a store, it's just sometimes it's a nice boost to your inventory's liquidity. I don't know how to speak technically. When even if it's a tick for tack trade, like an obscure collectible game swapped out for a different obscure collectible game, certainly a shop stocky game like a Mario Kart, Smash Bros, traded for anything that's kind of illiquid, niche, high dollar, but niche collector type piece. It's usually favorable to a game store, to anybody that's kind of servicing their local area. And if it's sat there for a couple of months, that means they've seen it. They either already have it. There's a reason why it didn't sell immediately. Stuff that doesn't sell immediately can kind of sit for a while. So it can be fantastic titles. We got Die Hard Arcade right here. They had two copies of this, oddly enough. But stuff like that it's always great to trade even at equal value for something else that obviously, again, Mario, Pokemon, Zelda is going to be favorable. You're always going to have lots of people needing that, wanting that, etc. So we did some strategic uh, seller to seller type of a trade, and I want to go over that, but I kind of want to take my time getting into it. So you can skip to if you want to just see like the pickups and my reasoning behind it, maybe some of the slips that I caught. There's a video for Joe and Sam to see also, and the warehouse chat and all the homies from Northwest Florida. Like, just, you can feel free to skip to wherever I'm at in the video where I actually start going one by one with titles. But for my own record keeping and just for shits, like I'll give the I'll give the story. I'll retell this story while it's just a few days old because it's kind of wild. Um, Joe, like a month ago, was really hounding me about coming up for their 10th anniversary because trade night, which they do monthly, I think it's the first Saturday of every night. It's a table set up for customers. I mean, they're mostly customers or adjunct people who are aware of trade nights. They're the locals to buy, sell, and trade with each other. Ingenious, by the way. Only a genius could come up with that. So, a few years before Radjunk opened, um, I had a store close by. I think it's like 15 miles away or so in Navarre, Florida. They're in Fort Walton, Florida. I was in Navarre and had a store, and I started doing this thing called Trade Night. And um, I'll be honest, it's just a clever gimmick to give back to the community, and they really appreciate it. It's like, hey, I'll buy pizza, I'll buy drinks. You guys bring all the games you want to sell and trade. You don't even have to sell and trade it to me. You can sell and trade it with each other, and it just boom fosters a community. Friendships are formed. They do business with each other. It's fine. It's all for the vibes. It's all for the giving back, and then it comes back to you when you do that. Like, they recognize how cool that is. Um, you see more and more stores doing this kind of thing nowadays. I feel like when I started it, it was a little ahead of its time. There weren't that many trading card game, whatever shops, TCG shops. Video game stores definitely weren't doing this kind of thing. Um, but it just made sense to bring everybody together. And naturally, the house kind of has an edge because you've got all your games there. So, buy, sell, trade, it's like I can kind of walk around and see if they got anything I need or I want and point it out and kind of guide them over to, I know these people. So know what their tastes are, and lots of trading, lots of selling, lots of buying would occur on this from the storefronts perspective, yada yada. That's the whole strategy. I'm giving away the ingredients here, but if you have a store and you want to do something uh, sacrificial, very selfless, right? It's usually acts of selflessness, acts of good deeds, good gestures out there in the community will come back to you. So it's kind of a net positive to do those kinds of things. So that was the whole trade night origin. That's actually how I met Joe and Sam before trade nights were really a big thing, but that's where I really got to know Joe and Sam, and a lot of the key figures that still exist in that region. The community was kind of born in Navarre, but we were pulling people from Pensacola, Fort Walton, and when I ended up closing and relocating to Tampa, it left a void there, and immediately Joe was like ready to open a store in Fort Walton and carry on the trade night tradition. So I don't even think we missed a month where it went from like Navarre trade night to, I think seamlessly it flowed into Fort Walton Rad Junk trade night. So um, it was, I only give that background story because like Joe is saying I gotta be there. I can't miss this. Like it's 10-year anniversary, and he needs me up there. So I was in a position too where I was like, man, I got a lot of business going on. I got a lot of things I've prepped and primed and ready to list. I got bills coming due first of the month. Like I gotta kind of, I can't really, I don't know. And then next thing I know, I'm heading up there with a bunch of video games priced and ready to sell and trade. So that started my adventure on, I think it was like really early Friday. Um, I think my first stop was local. Joe had made purchases, like a purchase from a local guy here who had like 5 Wii consoles and some accessories. I had to pick that up, transport it to Joe, but then I'm on my way. And yeah, so here's a good tip for anybody in all of the state of Florida hunting for video games. First of all, go to Really Rad Weekend every year in November. Convention, Rad Junk, um, super cool for buying, selling, trading with the vendors. They're highly curated, super good dudes, good prices. Like they have a limited vendor floor, so they have way more people signing up to want to be vendors, but they get to kind of take their pick of the litter and pick those guys that have a good reputation of high quality, good prices, etc. So really nice vendor floor, people that are very easy to trade with. So if you go to Really Rad Weekend, bring a bunch of games to trade with the vendor floor. Um, so that's my pitch on travel up US 19 if you're from this region, from the Tampa Bay area, or otherwise. Find yourself going up north to Really Rad Weekend. Fort Walton again is their location. You're going up US 19, about 20 miles south of Perry, Florida, one of those classic speed trap towns on US 19. Because that's the other thing. When you're cruising up US 19, you got to constantly watch. You enter a small town, like that speed limit will drop to 35 very rapidly. You got to be on it. And so this is one of these like super in the backwoods towns. I don't even know what it's called. 20 miles south of Perry. But you can Google this. Find the game store called PlayStation. 2 words. So it's Play Space Station. And this place is very unassuming, very barnyard-esque. I'm not talking shit at all. It's just, it's it's par for the course for this town, and the locals there are very tight knit. Usually while I'm in there, I'll because I'm kind of hunting around for an hour to 2 hours, and there'll be a couple visitors that are locals, and one dude straight up sounded exactly like Boomhauer from King of the Hill. Couldn't understand him, but the owner could. The owner's a very unique individual. Him and I both play chess, so we yak it up about chess. He's a very high level player, better than me. I've been playing my whole life. Very sharp dude, but this store is not like anything else as far as clean cut, sticker priced. No, this dude gets in volume and he just throws it up on the shelf. It's pretty disorderly, but you get the benefit of spending the time to curate your stack, let him price it, and he kind of knows his stuff. If you catch, I'll get specific with it in a second, but like if he doesn't know something and he kind of feels like that might be a little something, he'll go check it, and he'll give a good deal on it. But for the most part, it's kind of like if you're like me and you're picking 360 PS3 stuff that hasn't been moving, like he's just kind of winging a good price. So I can go over that in a second. I'll actually do that now. My pickups, my $200 PlayStation pickups. But 2 games that I did pique his interest on, and I'm happy to do this for him because he does sell on eBay, but he had a couple boxes that had PC games in them, and one of them was CD-ROM. It was DOS, I believe. I don't think it was Mac, but it was a CD-ROM big box of The Dig by LucasArts. And I saw LucasArts and The Dig, and I'm familiar with it. Like, classic game from the mid-90s, beautiful box, dusty as hell. Check it on eBay real quick. It's missing an art book or something, missing some kind of book inside. And but it's got the jewel case inside. It's got the big box. It's got like a little bit of extra literature, and it was that, and it was a jewel case, so no big box. Copy of Trespasser on PC. That's one I was familiar with from childhood. Jurassic Park game, well ahead of its time, mechanically, conceptually. It's a very interesting title. It's gotten a lot of kind of YouTube coverage over the years. Super cult classic. I'm sure there's mods for it that improve it. And I looked it up and it's like, okay, jewel case copy's probably worth about $40. And this guy's probably used to pricing PC games at like $1 or $2. So between The Dig and Trespasser, I really cherried him off of those two. From the depths of hell, though. It was very dusty, dank, bottom of the box kind of dig outs. And I find those two. He priced them. He's like, so these two? I'm like, I know, dude. They're kind of money, aren't they? He's like, yeah. And I told him, like, because I know he does eBay. It's like, dude, put those things on eBay. I didn't want to, like, cut me a deal, dude, on the 360, on everything else. Take your PC games, milk them on eBay. That'll be the compromise. So we didn't even talk numbers on those two. I think he was just happy that I was pretty transparent with them about kind of knowing what they were, identifying them for him. Like, you're welcome, dude. But one of those examples where I think in general it kind of pays off to not hold all your cards to your chest and play dumb with those sellers that kind of don't seem that professional. You might feel like you have an advantage by acting like you're whimsical on your super sharp pickups, but I think in general it's easiest for sure to just like shoot straight with people. Let them know, like, yeah, I mean, I got a resurfacer, I refurbish games, I list stuff on eBay, I buy, sell, trade, etc. Like, super transparent with this guy, and I think it didn't harm me at all with this whole batch here. Because at the end of the day, like, if I don't get the number that I need to be at, then I'm gonna pass on all of it. So did $200 for all this. 229 games total. I'm missing a couple because I think they either sold or traded, or I just lost track of them. Some of them, when I got back to my hotel room in Fort Walton, I cleaned up and priced and yada yada. So I think a couple of them might have moved. And that's not including this cool set. Neat thing about his shop was a lot of stuff would just be in the same box that it got delivered to him, probably from his locals or whatever storage unit. He said he buys a lot of storage units. And so this one box had a bunch of like good taste DVDs. I could just tell. Had like a Sin City Deluxe set DVD and just all these like niche seeming movies. And among them in that box, as I'm flipping through, I checked a couple on eBay. Nothing heavy. But the fact that there were 6 different Resident Evil DVDs made me think, like, my God, that's curated. That's got to be every single Resident Evil DVD that exists. So I thought it was cool that the set was already kind of curated together. A couple slip sleeves. Like, it just seems like this is the end-all be-all of Resident Evil movies. So I put those in the stack. I think he just tossed them in for free. Called everything, 29 games plus the DVD stack for $200. So I feel like I'm paying right around $6, a little over $6 per title on the games, the DVDs. Call it $15. Would love to trade these, get these to one of my convention selling buddies. Like, I know that you put those out. I had them marked at $40 for the whole set. I think that would sell. So nice little cheese there. But really the sweet spot with him was like PS2, Wii, OG Xbox, slim pickings on GameCube. I bet he eBays most of that stuff. And what was remaining out there to be found was pretty scrappy. But PS3 and 360, what a sweet spot for a guy that probably doesn't sell that stuff often. Not really aware of the hype surrounding it right now with the whole physical media FOMO going on. So my couple big scams, if you will, scammed them. Got a couple copies of Remember Me, and he had a third one, but it was just wrecked from the outside. So I didn't want to grab 3 copies of the same game. I just grabbed 2, but the third one is probably too rough to care about. But going in blind, I'm not looking any of this stuff up. I'm just playing it cool, just going off of gut feelings. But not even knowing that I'm going to pay, $6.25 per game. But I was like, we'll see what he does. I'm going to grab 2 of these. $6.25, let's just say, per game. Look this up, and it's like, I priced it at $40. I don't know how much has changed in 5 days or so, but the floor is just evaporated on eBay. PS3 hype is crazy right now. So came out really good on those 2. And Enslaved on 360, Enslaved on PS3. Two similar type titles where I feel like it's trapped on 7th gen. These will probably just be steady climbers. Wouldn't surprise me if in 3-4 years these are $40-$50 each, unless they come out on PS5, PS6, whatever. But if they're trapped on 7th gen, they're just going to keep creeping up. Motorstorm Apocalypse is one I didn't even know to grab until just before I left for my trip. I priced a CIB one. I was kind of surprised to see like 30, 35. Wasn't too surprising, upon thinking about it. It's like, that's just the way it goes with PS3 exclusive first party games. Motorstorm series, Pacific Rift is probably a little bit has it edged out over Apocalypse, but Apocalypse is very hot right now. So even a disc only, it's like throw it in there, see what he does. 625, definite score there. And then other ones to point out. Yeah, I'm going to take my time, so bear with me. Because I'm going to go through a couple of these. Galleon, not much needs to be said, because it's either you know or you don't. But, you see Atlas, you see only for Xbox. It's made by a lot of the development team that did the original Tomb Raider. I think the original director directed this. So it's got a lot of Tomb Raider inspiration behind it. I guess the movement is, I've never played it, but I guess the movement is very unique. Charming, one could say. One could say it's just bad, but I guess it does a lot of analog 3D stuff for moving around your environment that works and doesn't work, for better and for worse. Nice manual, nice disc. This is a kind of a copy I would say is a work in progress. Like, I'll just put this aside and eventually I'll snag a case and disc for a good deal, missing manual copy. Try to get one for a nice price so that this nice manual can go to a better cause, because this just ain't right when you have this wrecked case, but two nice components here. So kind of a piece right there. Piece it up, make it nicer. This one was just one I checked to make sure my value was okay, and it's around a 15 or 20 shipped kind of deal. I don't know much about it, but Koei Tecmo kind of seems Dark Soul-ish, very common hack and slash genre for the PS4. So Tukiden Kiwami. I'm sure it's a well-known title, but it seemed like among his PS4 games, kind of slim pickings for interesting looking titles, but snag that one. Primal's one that's been kind of creeping up. Just a high budget, high effort game, lots of good voice acting. Good content value for the price. You can snag it for like $15. Pretty common, but find a nice complete copy. Again, for like a little over $6. Like, love that one. I'm sure you can kind of make out the titles here. I don't have any strong feelings about too many. The rest of them. This one's a interesting Zombies Ate My Neighbors kind of clone. There's a PS3 version, but I think it's significantly different gameplay wise. I don't think it's like a tick for tack version of it. But Monster Madness, as far as like uncommon, call it a hidden gem, has that hidden gem potential to maybe it gets a little more exposure, and this would creep up in price. But definitely don't see it too often. And it has gameplay that's going to age pretty well, appeal to it. And a lot of these other ones are just kind of like, for a reason or another, bought them, lot appeal. I've got a few copies of 99 Nights 2. Don't have any copies of the first game, so it's like, oh, perfect. Pair that with the second game. Trade with con seller friend Devin with Jack 2. Like, always takes that title. Always takes Sega GT, Jet Set Radio Future because of Jet Set Radio Future. So face it like that, and people are gonna buy that for $20. Two copies of. Oh no, is this just a standalone? Oh, I didn't even realize that. Well, this is actually kind of uncommon. It's funny, like the standalone JSRF. God, I can't even open it. Oh, it's taped, that's why. The standalone JSRF and the standalone Sega GT 2002 are actually very uncommon compared to the combo. So I didn't even realize that. I got a standalone there. Oh well. And then little like I had no idea, I just bought it blind, but interesting looking game is Mini RC Rally. Reminds me of another pickup I got off Rad Junk called RC Day Go on PS1. But this has that kind of nice looking aesthetic to it. Nice looking graphics. Looks like it's fun to play. Simple, maybe a top down racing game. But never seen it. Definitely obscure. Whatever, it's cheap. And then this one I know has always been cheap, but man, rhythm games have been going bonkers. Just this Gen Z appeal for these fast action, hectic rhythm titles. And Gunpei with Bandai Namco, flashy cover, rhythm title. Like, I know it's cheap, but worth the snag, I feel. Conduit is one that pairs with copies of Conduit 2 that I have. Much harder to find the second game. First game is about as good as the second. You know, a lot of people prefer the second. It's more refined. But whatever, I just needed copies of the first game to pair with it. So I can go in too much depth, too long about the rest of it. It's not that interesting compared to the rest, so I better move on. But yeah, I've been going on kind of long on this. Kind of mid stuff, right? But the deal though, again, $200 for all of that, plus some extra cheese. I don't know what happened to it. Probably sold it. Probably traded a couple other titles. PlayStation, middle of nowhere, a little bit south of Perry, Florida. Fun store to pick around. You want to give yourself some time with that place. So, take a drink. So, this is where it gets good. While I was at PlayStation, place isn't well lit up inside. Air conditioner is nice. Got a blasting, little portable outdoor unit kind of thing. So it's certain spots are chill, certain spots are kind of sweaty. Certain spots you need to have your phone's flashlight to be able to see stuff. And I have my phone propped up on a stack of games in some corner, and I'm talking with the owner, not realizing that my phone was still placed where it was, illuminating a dark corner, and he leaned up against a stack, knocked my phone down to the floor, and it busted my phone to where like the display was now all blacked out, all glitchy. I couldn't use my phone. I was very worried because I still needed to navigate to Fort Walton. I really needed my phone to check prices on stuff. Like, I'm like, fuck, man, I'm without a phone for the rest of this trip. I gotta somehow make it to Rad Junk. I can't make phone calls, but that's where I realized that I can plug my phone into my car and, still make phone calls. I forgot about that. So I managed to salvage the trip with this brick of a phone now and made it to Fort Walton in one piece. And got there. The next day was basically slept, and the next day was trade night. And kind of helped prepare for that. It was like, seemed like time just flew by, and suddenly it's like setup time. And I don't know if Rad Junk's posted the video yet or not, but at some point Sam was walking around filming, and I was just sweating. People were constantly swarming my games as I'm trying to get them set up on the table. It was totally hellish. I was miserable for about the first 30 minutes until I finally got everything set up. And then it was smooth, but it was hell until I got shit set up. These people wouldn't listen, yada yada, you know. So I made it through trade night. It was really rough, but the sales were fantastic. They they did a crazy marketing thing where they gave away a Switch 2 and gave away a weekend pass to Really Rad Weekend, probably for two people because it included a hotel room. So whatever that package is worth, probably $600 package there. Switch 2 with a game, brand new, massive deal there. Um, and then there was like a $200 Rad Junk uh, third place prize. So to enter to win with this raffle was just come into Rad Junk and buy a game. So just be a customer and you get entered. So they did that promotion backed by like a massive Facebook ad campaign, and it just led to like an insane amount of foot traffic on Saturday and on Sunday. But Saturday was trade night, started at 6 p.m. So there was just a monstrous amount of people there. And as soon as I managed to finish setting up, it was like customer after customer. Um, I did $1,700 in sales, and I had a lot of like kind of niche stuff. So just kind of a mind blowing amount to sell at a trade event. Just in my experience, you know, doing like Tampa Bay Trade Day events, like the kind of stuff I had out was kind of niche. I had some shop stock that I was going to trade to Rad Junk, but a lot of that was tucked away where people couldn't see it, and it was just pretty nutty to have that kind of a day. So I was very busy. Didn't get to look at other people's stuff and trade. And then the next day was when I wanted to really focus on trading with Rad Junk. So that's where I'll get into the rest of this stuff here. Um, we had our annual fantasy football draft that Sunday night. So we had that kind of capping the amount of time I could spend in the store picking out stuff. So I only had a couple hours and I just amassed all this stuff, all the stuff you see on the table, um, most of it, and boxed it all up, took it over to Joe's house. We did our fantasy draft. Went pretty well. I didn't draft that great. It's all right. Pick up waivers. I'll try to finish first. But then that night, really got to buckle down and unveil all my shop pickups, all the things I wanted to trade for in a couple huge stacks. And then there was my boxes of all the stuff I brought up for this trade event. And kind of surprised that Joe didn't want to weigh in that much because he doesn't put much of his attention onto Rad Junk. He's mostly Rad Bar, just running larger operations. It's mostly Sam of Rad Junk, the star of the YouTube show, that really manages Rad Junk. She has a much better understanding of trends and shop stock and values, and it's kind of surprising because Joe knows a lot of the deeper cut hidden gem stuff, the high end stuff, the turbo graphics, the true hipster shit that I'm into. Joe really knows that stuff, but Sam really knows the business side of running a game store much better than Joe. So it was mostly Sam going over my stuff and picking out the shop needs and amassing a big trade value there. And we basically went tick for tack with my value was essentially the same as what Rad Junk would price the game at. For example, Zelda on NES Gold Cart, first Zelda, it's like $35. Like, I don't know if you consider that high, if you consider that low. You know, some game stores are going to mark that at 50, right? Convention guys are going to, depending on how much labelware, right? You know, how nice of a copy, but say a middle of the road, pretty nice. Zelda 1. It's all over the place with people selling. Price chart, you might say X. But like, I'm kind of in tune with, selling at cons. I can always trade it to friends of mine that have a game store or sell at cons. So I got this number in mind that's kind of boom, right on spot with Rad Junk. So kind of had to calibrate with Sam a little bit. I had a bunch of NES shop stock, all the Mega Mans, including 5, including the first game. A lot of $15 just solid title NES, and they were kind of low on that stuff. And we pretty much aligned with where I knew exactly where they kind of were at as far as is it a 15er, is it a 20er? And once we got it all figured out, we just started sliding inventory. Whatever they had their shop stock or whatever, my pickups from them stickered at, Die Hard Arcade for 160. That would equal a Zelda 1 plus Zelda 2 plus Mega Man 1. Done deal. Just value for value. 1-to-1 trade. So, long explanation. Sorry, that part was boring. It bored me just explaining all that. Hopefully, if you're interested in just the pickups, you will skip past all this blah talk. But I will say that this is probably a method of trading that they wouldn't do for just anybody. It would probably come with a lot of trust that, the inventory they're getting is good quality. If they had any issues, discs that they couldn't get to read, etc., obviously they can always come back to me and make it right. So I think that that kind of privilege kind of comes with the reputation, the experience. I think most people would probably figure this out with any decent game store. If any game store would never treat you like this, then they're probably just not that great. But I think Rad Junk would treat me the same way that they would treat a handful of other people that they know and trust pretty well. So that being said, it was like spending games instead of cash. From their perspective, they're getting fresh stock, better liquidity, better shop stock for some of the stuff that had been sticking around in the store for a while. So, all right, this is the fun part. I'm gonna pause the video and just get a drink, clear my throat. Okay, so a fun little stack to start off with is specifically great picks for me that I've immediately traded to my friend Chris. Chris was featured in my most recent video, picking up Sword Quest Waterworld on Atari 2600. That's the homie Chris. He's spending the night. He's asleep right now. But I've got an outstanding trade balance with him where I owe him some trade. Picked up some stuff from him a couple months ago. Need to clean that balance up. So, going over all my stuff, there was just some obvious, like, yeah, Chris, you would pick me off the best deals I got. But Adventure Island 2, really nice CIB. Missing the poster. There's like a poster, extra insert. Missing maybe some precautions, maybe some extra generic shit. But super mint cart. Decent manual. I think the manual is actually the weak point, but having a great box totally compensates. And Rad Junk had $200 on this. When I saw that, I yoinked it. I didn't question it. There's only a few things where I'm like, I want to double check that because I'm really unfamiliar. But this is one that years ago was definitely an upper tier, very standout-ish SNES title, and to see a really nice collector quality CIB. Guy like Chris is gonna try to source a poster and probably sell it for like close to $500. He's gonna really fish on it. But I think definitely Rad Junk was too low on the price, as is. Um, this is a juicy part. I have to remember around 40 minutes into this video, I'll tell Joe, like, hey, pay attention because I'm gonna give you feedback on what I think. Because I don't know, Sam doesn't price everything at Rad Junk. She's got managers and employees and stuff, but $200 on this was too low. Um, at the same time, I say that, but it who knows how long it sat at Rad Junk for 200. So they really know their clientele. For example, Joe tells me that Genesis sucks at Rad Junk. They'll get the coolest stuff, the nicest CIVs, collector friendly, casual friendly, doesn't matter. Genesis doesn't move well. So that's just a regional thing. I think it's kind of an RNG thing where you move over 50 miles to a different city and suddenly there's like four dudes that are hardcore into Genesis and can't get enough of those obscure, collectible, cool titles. But Rad Junk just has this void for nice Genesis anything, Sega, really anything, Saturn, just kind of a void, but also like a nice CIB like Adventure Island 2 is totally being slept on over there. I'll be honest, I put 200 trade of my trade into this, and Chris paid me 200 cash for it. So we didn't even do a trade balance. So I turned my trade into cash. And I also said, you're welcome, Chris, because $200 is a good deal. I hooked Chris up. But Rad Junk doing 200 trade on this to me was a smoking deal. I think they price their stuff kind of according to knowing their local market. And this is, who knows if this was once higher and they priced it down, or if they just knew, like, yeah, this is niche, exquisite taste. Super Nintendo guy is going to love this. And we just don't have that in our local area. So therefore, $200. Yoinked it. Way, way good deal there. Another one that Chris liked, I just like because it's Titus, which all of Titus games on SNES, they're all obscure, they're all low print. Probably the best one to really look out for. I may be forgetting another, but I think of Artie Lightfoot as a really nice title. Very uncommon, very conditionally rare because all Titus games are made in Mexico. Majesco factory, I guess. Label. So those are all matte finish, very easy to scuff, to get tears, to get weathered, etc. So to see one that's 95% nice and just a little ding there puts it into exceptional condition territory. So $20 was definitely kind of a price charting, kind of an average price, but in premium condition, you can definitely go fishing this one out there for a lot more. Chris wanted it for that reason, so I think he paid me 20 cash for this also, so I got my cash out of that. That was the goal. I traded a lot of stuff at shop value, like Melee, Smash Melee as an example, Smash 64, Mario Kart 64, and you know, if I'm, for example, I traded a Smash 64 card at $50, and that's kind of easy $50 cash, no matter how you sell it, you know. Could go out to a flea market, go out to a trade event, and $50, and I would get $50 for it. So if I'm trading that for 50 trade, like I really want to get stuff that I can absolutely get, like this 200 trade, I get 200 cash out of it. So there were some pieces like that that I really got high liquidity out of. But it wasn't liquid at Rad Junk. How odd is that, you know? So I think both parties really won there, where they got some liquid first party hot shop stock. And I got hot Chris bait, you know. Herc's Adventures, one that was 150 may seem like a premium, may seem like towards the high end of the scale, but this is like top tier condition, just dead mint copy of Herc's Adventures. So I think Chris was unfamiliar with it until I explain the title to him. Very good game. Don't really need to explain more. Look into it if you've never heard of it, I suppose. But very uncommon, both Saturn and PlayStation 1. Jewel case only, there's no long box of it. And it's one that, a lot of times it's rare enough to where you just settle on one that's maybe an 8 out of 10. Maybe you're very happy getting a 9 out of 10, but this is a damn 10 out of 10 copy. So rare game and exceptional condition. And now this is one that I got at a slight discount. Red Junk got it at $250. I countered. I said, "Hey, you want this to go? Give it to me for $200." And then Joe countered back. He was a good negotiator. He countered back at $220, and I didn't haggle. I took it because water damaged, but not disgusting. Not like mildewy. Just like a nice uniform waviness to it. Like it probably got set out on a flea market table one morning when it was very dewy out. I've seen that happen to games before where just one morning where the temperature changes, stuff accumulates dew all over the place, and it's like, there goes your insert. It's all wavy, but the guts are just cherry. So very nice disc, very nice manual. Just a rare chase game. I don't need to say more, right? It's either you know it or you don't, but $250 is definitely a great deal. If that insert was nice with the waviness, I think it was super fair at $220. Chris is probably going to try to improve the case insert. Who knows? Maybe part it out. Maybe sell just the manual, sell just the disc. Who knows? I'll try to speed it up. Last little crispies, because these are all interesting. These are from one reseller to the next. As soon as I get these in, Chris is like, I want that for my eBay. I want that for my collection. But this is one that he knew immediately. He's like, I know 64, but I don't ever see this title. I was like, yeah, I know. That's why I grabbed it. Super mint label on In the Zone 2000. Konami Sports. Tends to be common-ish, little obscure. But when you get to that year 2000, think of International Superstar Soccer 2000. Very uncommon, $100 cart, nice shape. And In the Zone, I think, is just about as rare as ISS 2000. But it just doesn't come with that soccer ISS premium attached to it. $30 for a really nice label. I think it's priced on point, but I told Chris this is one that you just tuck aside for just a couple years and just watch what happens with this title. This could easily be $100 in such nice condition for your full setters that are just kind of procrastinating on their sports, just waiting to find it cheap, and they're just never going to get one that's in nice enough shape. One of the final pieces that we closed on this was like Monday as I'm about to head out, like an hour away from departing, and I've got some remaining trade balance that I need to clear out. He flashed this by me, and this is what's called a Jusco, Jusco, a Jusco edition, Japanese exclusive N64. The obvious intrinsic value is it's an N64. It's got the expansion pack. It's smoke gray, official controller, nice. So I feel like right off the rip, like I don't care that it's got the little tab there that makes American cards not fit in, right? Like In the Zone doesn't fit because it doesn't have the right tabs, It's a Japanese N64, whatever. I don't care. It can always be modified. But I felt like its intrinsic value was already damn near 300 as a smoke gray, gorgeous expansion pack. But the fact that it's this exclusive and rare variant where it's got that kind of white-ish two-tone smoke going on, as you see here. Very cool looking, exclusive, hybrid, fantastic, whatever you want to call it. Call it the Jusco. Joe has a buddy in Japan that works at DHL that can get him good deals on import fees and whatnot. So has him looking out for certain stuff, and Joe kind of put in the effort to source that for, I'm sure, a margin. I'm sure he got it cheaper than 300, but like the other thing is I saw like the floor on eBay for the cheapest Jusco N64 was just the console, jumper pack inside, no controller, no hookups, just that flat console for 220. And I was like, yeah, 300 is a great deal. Comes with expansion, comes with controller. So thought that was a solid use of 300 trade. Sega stuff. I try to speed up. Who cares though? You know, if you're bored, keep skipping because it'll get into other stuff and I'll start speeding it up. But Sega, I got cards too. Sega stuff. So Midnight Resistance, he had 110 on it. I counted at 100. Again, it was kind of a... Oh, I got another Sega. It's kind of knowing that I had a little bit of leverage with like Sega Sucks here, and also just kind of checking the market. I'm like, yeah, you know, it's passable at 110. At 100, I feel good enough. I personally like it. These two are ones that I would say I personally, these three even, just nice with the manual, good crisp manual, nice card, just a nice CIV. So 100 trade, I'm in. Don't know what I'll do with it. Probably hold it for a while. Be hard to get with it. Trade it out, sell it out for a premium. Same with Syndicate, not Syndicate Wars. I've got copies of PS1 Syndicate Wars, and I may list this with a Syndicate Wars just as a cool lot there. But reg card, manual, everything's super mint, $120. Kind of a premium, but the cart solo, it has quite a premium to it on its own. So just having the whole shebang here with the case, mint manual, reg card, just 100% CIB, 120, premium collector's choice copy there. Like, I'll pay high price charting average on that. Happy to get that for 120 trade. Nabunaga's Ambition, kind of a similar thing. This was only priced at 30, and I think that's a little bit of rad junk nerfing of Genesis values, because it's just like Genesis doesn't move. Doesn't matter how cool. Doesn't matter that it comes with a poster. Probably had a reg card originally. It might be the only thing missing. I'm sure it had a reg card with Koei, but fresh Manny, poster, cart looks mint as hell. A nice CIB for 30. I'm not even double checking it. No desire to look it up. $30 of trade. Got that one. El Viento at 160. I knew, like I asked, I was like, Sam, does that have the manual? She said no. I was like, I know it doesn't. I knew it. And of course it doesn't. Like 160 would be too good. And it says NM. I should have deduced that it did not have, it had no manual. But 160 would be too good of a deal with Manny. Without a Manny though, it hurts it quite a bit. It's one of them titles. Renovation, very collectible. I believe this is Wolf Team. In fact, I shouldn't even say I believe it. I know for a fact it's Wolf Team. Got those like iconic sound effects. Super, you know it if you've heard it. Genesis as hell. Soul Deece. Slime World. I believe. Wolf Team. Action platformer. Genesis as hell. you really want it CIB, and when it's missing Manny, you're just really disappointed. So I looked into it. A nice super fresh cart is, pushing $100. I don't value an empty case that much more. So it's just the way it goes. Like the manual, a nice fresh manual, I would value damn near equal to a nice cart. Um, Missing manual, big nerf on that. So I offered 120 and they accepted. So we called that one 120. Don't have strong feelings on it. Like, it is what it is. It's not really for me missing that manual, but the value at 120 is solid. I didn't check value on Die Hard Arcade, but just one I know I'll eventually. I don't currently have a Dynamite Cop on Dreamcast, but I would love to sell this side by side with a Dynamite Cop for that hipster feng shui. It's like, if you know, you know, but Die Hard Arcade is Dynamite Deca 1, Dynamite Cop on Dreamcast is Dynamite Deca 2. So they go really well together. I'm a kind of a Dreamcast nerd. I'm always looking for Dreamcast stuff, so I'll eventually get a Dynamite Cop. I will sell that with Dynamite Cop. That's a cool one to have regardless. Night Warriors at 90. I got my friend Devin with a bunch of Saturn Capcom fighters in recently. Bought some collector out that had good taste. So I'm about to get a Street Fighter collection, a Street Fighter Alpha 2, a Marvel Superheroes. I've got a Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo. I've got all these cool Capcom Saturn, titles. So I think I'm also going to get another copy of Night Warriors. I think he also had that, but I wasn't sure. Blah, 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 $90 on Night Warriors, Darkstalkers. I'm solid regardless, but it's going to be a sick lot when I get all those Capcom fighters and Saturn together. Very on point with these prices here. No gainers here, I didn't catch them slipping, but Aerobiz 1 and Aerobiz Supersonic. First one is at 40, second one's at 60. I think I might have, haggled them down to like 100 on the pair. I think I did. But that puts me in a territory where I sell them together. Might be able to net around what we had trade value, and that was the goal. Like, I want to try to recoup these nice shop stock pieces that I was letting go of, and try to make sure that if I'm listing on eBay, I'm going through the legwork of listing, refurbishing, shipping. Like, I want to net these total sticker prices. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? So everything you see, it's like, I really want to sell it and net $90 because I relinquished a Melee and a Chippendale 1 on NES. Literally, exactly. 70 on Melee, 20 on Chippendale. It's like, it's pretty easy for me to get $90 for those two games. So if I traded those for Night Warriors, like, I want it to be a title that I can get $90 out of. So that was the yin and the yang there for good karma with Rad Junk. 2 copies of Doom Troopers, 25, 30 on the nicer label. I didn't even check these. I think I did okay. Just always knew that those are cool titles. Those are good games. Good action platties. I'm sure I'm good on those. Rolling Thunder 2 and 3. Both like equally roughish labels. So do they pair well together for 2 players copies. Like, I think they would lot fantastically. That person that can't handle incomplete and some label wear, well, they're out. But for the guy that just wants 2 and 3 together, perfect little lot. And they came there's 50 on this, 30 on this. They kind of came priced accordingly with those conditions in mind. But I will tell you, These games, gameplay wise, fantastic. It's a duck and cover shooter, um, kind of like a Shinobi. Um, Rolling Thunder really defines that genre. So the duck and cover shooter is really like the Rolling Thunder genre. But really well made games, arcade ports. I don't know about Rolling Thunder 3. I know this is a North American exclusive. So when I've had this game in the past, like dating back years and years ago, like when I was a teenager and I would have this game, even if it wasn't complete, if I put it on eBay, I would get solicited by people in Europe asking for shipping to Germany, shipping to France. Like the Europeans love this title because they got PAL Rolling Thunder 2. They did not get Rolling Thunder 3. They have to import this. So I don't even know if Japan got this. I don't think so. Um, both games, phenomenal soundtracks, like super underrated, on par, I would say close to like a Streets of Rage 2. Super poppy, jazzy, catchy. Um, Soundtrack's awesome, gameplay awesome. Rolling Thunder 3, North American exclusive. CIB, what a prize. If you have a CIB Rolling Thunder 3, hold it like it's something extremely precious. Do not let that thing go. Um, Way undervalued. If you can buy one for $250, buy a Rolling Thunder 3 CIB for $250 and thank me later. Excellent pickup. Kind of boring. Alien Storm. I thought I had an empty case to pair this with, but I don't. So it's just a $25 Alien Storm cart. Boring. Cheeky Cheeky Boys. Really cool. Capcom arcade port. Um, very well done on Genesis. Screams like Little Samson vibes as far as like the aesthetic, the beauty of it. Just amazing. Super good bang for your buck. Very uncommon. Get a nice CIB. Hard to find. Missing manual a lot of times, X rental a lot of times. So you find a really fresh CIB, cheeky cheeky boys. Pay under $150, super mint, super good buy. Sometimes you can catch it slipping for under 100. Way cheap. Genesis on the cheap right now. This would be my highest recommendation, along with Rolling Thunder 3 for great little investments to make with collector quality Genesis games. Cheeky cheeky boys, Rolling Thunder 3. Um, Let's move on to sealed games. Rad Junk got these, I think, all at once from same owner. I don't need to. I guess I don't need to spill too much of the personal details inside, but is a local guy that they see fairly regularly, and he's hit or miss. Sometimes he comes with the wow factor, and sometimes it's just like, all right, man, it's a give and take with him. I'll put it that way, right? Like sometimes you get those customers where they bless you, and then sometimes you just gotta bless them, and whoa, karma works out. Let me reprop my phone 1 sec. Whoa, hold on. Let me pause this and reset. All right. Ooh, I thought I had it. It's starting to fall again. All right. Is it gonna be good? Okay. So you got all this stuff, and I already know that sealed games are gonna be tough to move at a store. They don't do eBay. I think that's super cool. If anything, strategically at a super deep, um, very deep level, it just makes so much sense for Rad Junk to have eBay going. Like hire somebody, it's easy to list, easy to ship. Stuff that has been moving, sealed stuff, like blah blah blah. But they choose not to, and it really simplifies things. Like that's one less thing we have to worry about. Just focus on the shop, put things out for a good price, and if there's people like me that will sell things on eBay, like we will entice them with good numbers on stuff that is kind of illiquid maybe it has a premium value. It has a great value to it, but hey, we factor in our low liquidity on that item. So hey, come buy it from us. Come trade it off of us. So um, that's how I felt about their sealed games. That's why I targeted their sealed games. My bad. Let me set this up again. All right, this should be better. It's less of an incline. A little bit more widescreen there. A little bit more panorama. So apologies in advance if I explain a little bit too much about the coolness factor of some of these, but I'll tell you, Legend of K was one that I really thought was kind of an under the radar. Like, wow, look at this game. The collectible aptitude that it has, collectible attributes as far as Capcom exclusive PS2. Single print run, no grid sets. So you got your Black Label, Legend of K, 3D platformer, Capcom. Need I say no more? But ends up getting ported to the Wii U. Come to find, as I mature and learn more, it's like, yeah, it's not actually Capcom. They just published it. It's some rinky-dink developer. The Wii U publisher, I think, is some rinky-dink publisher. Capcom just got the rights to publish the PS2 version, and it remained a cool, obscure, uncommon exclusive for many years until boom, it's on the Wii U. So it is what it is. But I still think, as far as that kind of C tier uh, platformer, I think of like Scalar on GameCube, PS2, Xbox. Think of like Rough Trigger, published by Natsume, similar to this, where you get this S tier publisher, Natsume, on Rough Trigger. But like, it's not anything special development wise, gameplay wise. Um, but it still is a beacon to like, hey, look at me when people see Capcom or when people see Natsume on Rough Trigger. So Sphinx the Mummy, these are all kind of your C, B tier, right? And that's where Legend of K lies. Sealed copy. It's funny, some sealed games have the security seal, some don't. Usually indicative of kind of a budget title. So Legend of K, I'd say, has kind of lost some stock value over the years, but hey, I've over explained it, right? Sealed copy, Capcom, whatever. Maybe I'll trick somebody. It definitely has that eye appeal, You see it and you go, ooh. So, $20 though. Now Torque is much more interesting. Ubisoft published. I don't know the developer, but probably a cool one. Probably a better. I haven't played, but I've watched the gameplay. I read the comments, and I get a vibe that this is for your Xbox childhood nostalgic person. They'd be like, Torque, man, I remember that. That was a good game. Neat game. Definitely super uncommon. Only for Xbox. A sealed copy. It's priced at $60. I went blind on all these, by the way. I didn't check any of them. I was just like, I know Radjunk nerfs their sealed game prices. I'm gonna be safe on these. So 60 in a Torque. It's already a title that I've got a couple CIBs tucked aside. I like that title long term, so sealed one's cool. Raises Hell, very kind of similar as far as exclusive to Xbox. Cult classic appeal, sealed copy. Um, these do have the security seal, of course, as I think all Xbox games do. 45 on Raises Hell. I'll bet that's going to age well. No doubt in my mind. Wouldn't be interested in selling any of these for anywhere near their sticker price. Like, I'll sit on them. As far as grading goes, I don't know. I don't really think too much about it. I don't think any of these are great candidates for, grading. I'll dabble in the retarded grading market if it's something that I know those idiots who overpay for graded stuff would like. You know what I mean? I don't think these three are great candidates. Not terrible, not great. Probably best of them all. I don't know. Maybe it raises hell. Platinum Hits Condemned. Probably not a good graded candidate. Probably just good to list opportunistically. I like this Cold Winter. Not a good grading candidate. But it comes with this pre-order DVD, both sealed. So, if you're a big Cold Winter fan, it's like here's the end all be all. Like, get yourself a sealed copy, nice shape, and a sealed pre-order. Like, there you go. Cool lot there. So just grab that on a whim. Now this is grading candidate. Super hardcore love for this game for your Sonic fan base. Sonic Team made it exclusive to the GameCube. Probably massive demand, begging Nintendo, begging Sega to remaster it, port it to the Switch. It could happen, it could crush the GameCube price, but this game will keep creeping until that happens. This will be a $200 CIB. Mark my words. Con crack. My friend Devin, who sells at cons, like I made him trade value a copy that I picked up off of eBay. I paid like $80 for a CIB, and I was like, hey, if you want this, give me 130 trade. And he didn't want to, but I said, trust me, do it. And it was one of the first games he sold for $130. So just has that insane con kid super appeal for a CIB copy, even a disc only, just to play it. A sealed copy does not come at much of a premium. Like the nice CIB floor is not that far off from a sealed copy. Nice sealed copy here at 200 trade. Like this is one I actually want to get graded and sell it in the future. Beyond Good and Evil, graded candidate for sure. Who knows if they'll ever put out a sequel to it. It's always been in development for like 20 years now. I think it'll probably eventually come out. There's so much demand for it. Cold classic game. This truly is an accurate price, $35 for a sealed copy, but it's a nice sealed copy. So definitely I would get this graded. Sounds crazy. It's one of the cheaper sealed games that I picked up. I think this is a great graded game candidate. And I can go scam some graded moron who likes investing in graded iconic video games. It's an iconic one. And it would get super hot if they ever truly announced Beyond Good and Evil 2. Max Payne 2, another graded candidate because it's Max Payne, it's Rockstar. I would assume it's fan favorite. I don't know. I know the first one competes with the second one, competes with the third one. They're all beloved games, but Max Payne 2, very nice black label. Like it's kind of begging to get graded and then cheesed in price. So all these were blind pickups. I really didn't double check values. Except for Beyond Good and Evil. I was just curious. I was like, 35, is that way underpriced? And it's not. It's they're on point. I might have to speed it up through these guys. This is going a little in depth. PS3 has been rocking recently with the announcement of the shutdown of the PS3 digital store. Sony going all digital. It really put the magnifying glass heat blast onto PS3. That's where people are really focusing first, and they're going straight after the games that 5 years ago when Sony announced that they were shutting down the store. Those same titles immediately blasted off, and then everything in kind of close proximity. So, 3D Dot Heroes Folklore, Puppeteer, PSN Network Volume 1. Immediate blast off, and then close proximity would be some of these are multi-platform. They're on 360 also. Imagine, The Forsaken Kingdom, Knight's Conquest, Splatterhouse, Saw 1 and 2. um, Silent Hill, Downpour, just a lot of stuff just started cranking on PS3, and then it kind of rubs off on 360 if there's a counterpart, if it's multi-plat. So it's like the heat um, focal point is PS3 exclusives, but then like the heat is radiating outside of that. It's radiating onto PS2 exclusives. It's radiating onto 360 multiplats where the PS3 one is skyrocketing, the 360 one starts to really heat up. It's radiating onto GameCube. It's radiating all over the place. So, um, been crazy for the market. But again, that focal point is PS3. And these aren't the hottest ones radiating, but the fact that they're Sega Marvel games, there's kind of a theme with Marvel, with the Spider-Man games being very expensive, Captain America, very expensive, um, Hulk, I think. I don't know if there's a PS3 Hulk, but just Sega and Marvel, their little partnership there for a while. Made me look at these two like, what a nice little lot. List those two together. Probably get a premium. It's probably only going to creep up. Good to list now, though. So, nice little bundle there. I think I caught Rad Junk slipping on this. Straight up honest with you. I didn't even price check it. Kind of didn't want to feel guilty if I did and found out like, yeah, that was a major slip. But I want to say 15 is like Dead or Alive 5 price, not Dead or Alive Ultimate price. So I'll check, see after the video. If you're watching at this specific point in the video, very few people, maybe Joe will actually go through this entire video. Like maybe Sam, if you catch this, like train your employees. I think this was a big slip. I don't know. I didn't question it. I needed a little bit of juice to make up for some of the other ones that I don't think I'll be able to net the sticker price on a lot of this stuff. You know what I mean? But some of them I'll be able to net in excess the sticker price, and that'll help me come up with the cash value on some of that super liquid chop stock that I had to sacrifice in exchange for some of this stuff. This is another example of like, this one was effectively 22. We did an $8 White Knight Chronicles 1. And I said, I took the second one for 30 combined. So it was like an 8 and a 22. And I think because of the PS3 craziness going on right now, I think that this lot will be a little bit of excess value for an eBay listing for the pair. So that was a little victory there. I got some victories, some stale kind of so-sos, you know what I mean? This is an example also I was saying earlier. Captain America, it's Sega, Marvel. Liquid crack right now. CIB like over 100. Just bonkers. So I have no respect for disc only. Throw it in a nice, clean, sterile jewel case. Give it a little clean polish in the machine. List it as a disc. Certainly more than 40. Probably try to squeeze like $70 out of that stupid disc, you know. But somebody's got to do it. If Rad Junk's gonna market at 40 and nobody's respecting it at Rad Junk, somebody needs to pull that from Rad Junk and get it gone. Get a Smash Bros in place of this, you know what I mean? So G.I. Joe Rise of the Cobra, I just know it's a quality game, a little bit of a hidden gem given the aesthetic of it. You know, you see G.I. Joe on the outside, you might assume mid at best, but it's a Metal Jesus kind of game, you know? Decent little game, $10, can't go wrong. Full Auto 2, I like as an exclusive Sega Car Combat. 360 has the first game exclusive. I've got a copy of the first game. What an interesting lot. 360 Full Auto 1, PS3 Full Auto 2. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll sell this with twisted metal. Who knows? But nice piece regardless at only $10. I'm sure it's super safe, super solid. This might have been a little bit of a slip at $40. Again, due to the very recent PS3 explosion. Some of this was probably just priced a couple of months ago, and it may have changed by a plus 40% kind of factor, since the time that they priced it. This was an example of that. They had 40 on it, and I asked Sam to double check it. Because really, I just wanted her to, get it accurate. And she was like, yeah, I really don't know what to say. Like, there's like none listed, or like the cheapest one's like $75, but sold are all like $40. So it's like, I don't know where to be. And I was like, how would I take it at 50? I think we call it 50 trade. And I got that. So again, title to kind of take advantage of the current drought on eBay, get this thing listed, and try to get more than what I traded into it. If I traded 50 into it, hopefully I can list it for 70 and sell it, kind of thing. And this had just come in, so that must be an accurate price. Like, it came in the same day I got it. They priced it at 30, but I just have a bunch of Dark Souls, Demon Souls, all kinds of Souls on PS3. And seeing a steelbook with the slip sleeve, nice shape, it's like perfect, man. I need to do a Souls lot. And that's going to be as nice as it gets for Dark Souls 2 for me. Some of these I go into too much depth on. They're not that interesting, but who knows? It's all relative. Something. One man's boring is another man's interesting. So. Okay, 2 rad junks. These are Joe. These are Joe. This is Joe. These are all 3 rad junks. So just this was rad junk rare cabinet. I need this for a Rayman lot. I'm just missing Rayman 2. Now I got it. Now I can do my little Rayman lot. I needed that. That's cool. And these are 2 little low end, stupid little. I got a bunch of fishing games on PS1. There's a whole lot of Japanese developed, PS1 exclusive, uncommon, undesirable, low value, Real Fishing 2, double jewel case, super uncommon, Natsume, not worth a whole lot. There's Big Ol' Bass 1, Big Ol' Bass 2 by Konami. Big Ol' Bass 2 especially, very uncommon, not very desirable, not very valuable. There's Bass Landing by, I think, H-Tech. Bandai, maybe it was Bandai that did Bass Landing. There's a Bandai, there's an H-Tech, all kinds of cool Japanese developed fishing games, and cool publishers. Everything about it seems cool, collectible. It's just no love for fishing. The fishing genre is cheap, and I chuck them aside when I get them, So I've got all these cool fishing games on PS1. And I think Black Label Real Fishing 1 is like strangely one I probably don't have. If I do, it's a wrecked one. But a lot of greatest hits of Real Fishing 1. Black Label Super Mint for $5. It's like, I gotta play it safe. I gotta grab that. I might need that for my exquisite, cheap, underappreciated Japanese PS1 developed American region fishing games. Does that all make sense? I don't know. This is a interesting Codemasters racing game that is truly $10, cheap as hell. Like, you can get this for $10 shipped on eBay, but hey, how about $10 for trade value for a super mint? Can't get any nicer. Jarrett Labonte. Joe will correct me on this because he's a racing guy. He knows all about this stuff. Stock car racing. I asked Joe, like, hey man, isn't this for you? Like, don't you want this in your personal? And he's like, I don't do stock car racing. He doesn't. Something about stock car racing. I don't know. He's more into cooler forms of racing. I don't know the difference. I just know that Codemasters made exceptional racing games, technically, from a technical perspective. Like visually, stunner for the PS1, pushes it to the limits. Um, they made a little game called Colin McRae Rally 1, amazing game. Colin McRae Rally 2, the pinnacle of PS1 racers, technical marvel, very rare, very desirable, very expensive game, Colin McRae Rally 2.0. And then Colin McRae went on to Colin McRae Rally 3 on Xbox and PS2, I believe. And then after that, it became a little thing called the Dirt series. Same developers started making Dirt 1, Dirt 2, Dirt 3. So, technical magicians. And seeing a Codemasters racing game, that's cheap. Just cool. Cool pickup. If you like games that really push the PS1 to its limits, cheap. Definitely you're saving on the whole, like, nobody really cares, but it's not super common, right? Like, I don't see that too often, but it's bountiful on eBay. You can easily pick it up for $10. But there's a neat one. Check it out, I suppose. Another technical marvel from a racing game developer is Polyphony Studios' only non-Gran Turismo game. They made, some motorcycle game on PS2 also, but you know what I mean. Non-racing game by Polyphony was a Mega Boost, an on-rails shooter. Super impressive, super good game, super action-packed. One that I use for eBay lots where it's other cool shooters. And I feel like it pairs really nicely with Van Ark by Jalico, another on-rails shooter, both uncommon. This one's not super rare or anything. I would say it's fringe uncommon, you know. Calling it uncommon is like, yeah, it passes. Because nobody wants to relinquish their copy. Like, you get that in your collection, why let it go? It's only like $40 tops. So, good bang for your buck. Highly recommended. Get that one for under 40, like, snag it, man. Enjoy it. Hold it. That's actually, this one kind of belonged here. Because these were 4 games that I got off of Joe's personal collection. He had duplicates of every single one of these. Superior condition, too. So, like, he had 2 Omega Boosts. He's like, I don't need 2. I just want to keep the nicer one. Cool. I got that. Same thing with this. Same thing with all of them. These are all ones that, among his personal collection, as we went through stuff, trying to find some extra trade value, it was like, hey, I actually have dupes. Like, this is like the crustiest manual you'll ever see. Like, they're stuck together. It smells a little weird. Not too bad, not too gross. It smells kind of like a swimming pool. It was dipped in chlorinated water. Very crispy, it's a very solid manual. But what's interesting is you take this copy here and you put this right here and it becomes CIB. So that's all that really matters. CIB. He had a 50 on it, probably because he didn't realize how junky it was. We called it 35. I said, I don't want to value that manual. Give me it for a no manual price. So we did 35. And Floating Runner is just a really cool, super primitive, super early 3D platformer. Kind of reminds me, it gives me like Bomberman 64 kind of vibes. Kind of like, hey, we don't know how to do a 3D platformer. We're going to do top down. Just check it out if you're at all interested. A game I would kind of compare it to would be Bubsy 3D. It's way better than that. But maybe like this is Floating Runner. What's it called? Jumping Flash. Jumping Flash, different perspective, but still that really flat shaded polygon 3D. So not a lot of there's really no graphics at all on the polygons, just flat shaded. Charming aesthetic. It's aged well. Check it out. Cool game. Uncommon, neat. Cocapelli published. They haven't done much. I think Robopon, right? Robopon 1, Robopon 2. What was that Metal Slug style game? In the Hunt, submarine Metal Slug game. So, like, they're cool. They really don't have a non-cool track record. I think if you looked into them, you'd be like, they're 100% cool. So, kind of par for the course that they put out a game like Floating Runner. I keep trying to speed it up, but I can't. I'm almost done. I'm just making this a long video. Not much to say here. It was $35. I think that was a good value for a nice CIB. I've got another Batman game. Forget what it's called. It's a bad one by Kemco. Really bad game. But it's equally as uncommon. It might even be more uncommon than this. So cool little partner piece. Probably put them together on eBay. 2 Batman games on GameCube. Battalion Wars. I love Advance Wars. Greatest strategy game ever. Intelligence Systems. It's better than Fire Emblem. It's their best game series. Advance Wars. However, Battalion Wars, I don't know. Never played it. I don't care. It probably sucks. But I will pair it with Battalion Wars 2 on the Wii. Make a nice little Battalion Wars bundle. 30 on Battalion Wars. I don't know how I did. Probably good. Probably solid. Red junk price. Tokyo Beatdown for 50. I think that's on point. I don't have a case or manual. It was just like lightweight, cool. Same with this. Like, I got nothing to pair this with. It's just, honestly, I kind of felt like, yo, I got some shop stock. You got some collector bait. Like, you know what comes to mind with these pieces would be like, I'll trade these out to Devin, my convention selling buddy. I bet he'd love those two. It's like niche, you know? It's strong with the niche crowd. This is a, man, that's for my deep Game Boy guys. When I get those Game Boy full set guys, they're like, yeah, I'm going for full set, but I don't like when the carts are yellowed. I don't like when the labels are messy. I like the stuff that I don't have already. It's like, hey, this fits the bill, doesn't it? You don't have Battle Bowl. It's this nice cart. It's nice and gray. The label's super shimmery. This is perfect for you. And they say, yeah, you're right. How'd you know? I just know. It's that kind of a game. So, like, if I had a store right now, I'd totally be like, that's the kind of stuff I love having. Because you get that guy that comes in, it's like, damn, how'd you know? I just know. 2 Hyper-V balls. They had both of them next to each other, which is ugly. You shouldn't do that. You have a game store. Their SNES selection was pretty slim. They had, like, what was that game that Chris got off me? That Whiplash or Whiz or whatever it's called. The bunny game. Titus. It's like they had just, like, a couple obscure titles. And, like, no first-party games. And, like, 2 copies of Hyper-V Ball touching each other. It's very strange. Like, the trade I did with them definitely juiced them up. They're going to look a lot prettier in the SNES department. But this was obscure. This is very weird. This needed to be corrected. These needed to come home to me. Where this is a game that I've got a few copies of. I like it because the publisher, Mako River, published one other game on Super Nintendo. Probably one other game ever. They never published anything on anything else. Mako River. Same publisher that is featured on the volleyball itself. They were so proud of their brand that they made a volleyball embroidered with their name, Mako River. However, they've only done Hyper V-Ball in a little game called Aero Fighters on Super Nintendo, which is a smoking hot holy grail, super rare. Sonic Wings, the Neo Geo arcade shmup. It's an SNES port of that, and it's called Aero Fighters in America. Highly desirable. Most people know about it. Very expensive. And their one other game is almost equally as rare, just nobody cares. Hyper V-Ball. And one of the characters that you can play as is a robot from the game Sonic Wings from Arrow Fighters. So they kind of have this like universe going on. There's a Mako River universe that's a cross between a shmup and volleyball. Very bizarre, but you know, low price, very rare. Definitely, I'll tell you what, from my perspective, being totally deadpan serious with you, is that these titles are great to have when you meet that guy who's like, hey, I'm trying a full set SNES. It's like, cool, 100% you need this. He's like, yeah. Sometimes they ask how you know, but other times they just kind of know. They're like, yeah, you already know. Like, yeah, I already know. This is one you don't ever come across, but it's not going to be expensive. So probably never will be smoking hot expensive. I don't think it'll ever ferment like that. And the pressure will never, you know, take you to the next dimension. But it's cool to have. Almost done here. These are the Xbox / 360 pickups. Witcher 2, whatever edition, enhanced Assassin's Kings, couple discs. Seems nice, seems cheap. I don't know what other ways you can play Witcher 2. It might still be console locked on 360. I don't know for sure, but for 15, I could probably use it for doing little Fable lots, little action adventure RPG. Blah blah blah. Not much to say. Why am I talking so much about that? Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volleyball 2. They had it priced at $45. I think this is a little bit of a slip. I didn't say anything, but I think $45 is a little bit of a slip on that one. I picked it up just because of the value, and because I've got the first game. I've got multiple copies of that, I'm sure, in storage. I just need to fish one out. Be a nice little lot for eBay, right? Dead or Alive 1, Dead or Alive 2, Extreme Beach Volleyball, you know what I'm saying. Ridge Racer Unbounded. Cool little final entry in the Ridge Racer franchise. I'm sure Ridge Racer will come back, but you know, it wasn't Namco developed. Kind of more of a Burnout type of game. Kind of switched up, kind of different vibe to it. Kind of more edgy, but cool, uncommon. I really don't see that too often. It's on PS3 also. You just don't see it that often. Pretty late release. Guessing like, let's say, probably 2013 or something. I don't know. Call it 2012. This is another late release. I've been seeing this at a lot of GameStops lately. Nordic / THQ Nordic. THQ turned into Nordic. THQ got bought by Nordic. You're starting to see a lot of these games like Path of the Furon, Destroy Humans, Path of the Furon. They did man, I'm geeking out getting specific here, but they did a reprint of Path of the Furon. No longer says THQ, it says Nordic Games on it. And those got distributed around, like games. Every GameStop you go to will probably have a copy of this. They'll probably have a copy of Path of the Furon. Nordic also did Hell and Damnation. What's it called? Painkiller on PS3. That game used to be worth a fortune, very rare. But then they reprinted it with a Nordic, slightly different publisher tag, and you'll see those everywhere now. They were everywhere online. It just immediately tanked the price. I think if you go into most GameStops, it's not that uncommon to find what used to be a major grail on PS3, Painkiller, Hell and Damnation. So Nordic, can't trust these guys. That's the gist of it, you know. You can't trust them. But still a cool 360 exclusive that very few people own, you know, not very well distributed originally. I don't think it'll ever blossom into anything because I think there's just copies to buy online. Enough copies are circulated at GameStop nowadays, but like still a cool one. Pair that with like a Velvet Assassin and a Darkest of Days, you know, other niche, whatever, cool games exclusive to 360. There you go. That's my little Nordic take. The other one is funny. Siberia Collection on PS3 was like a smoking hot, just rare print run PS3 game for no good reason. Like, you can get it on PS4, but like, oh, the PS3 version is stadium events. You know, people were speculating. Then Nordic went and reprinted it, so something to be aware of, you know. Cool game, right? PS3 also. If you don't know, now you know. You know. Kind of favor the PS3 one because then I can get Dead to Rights 1 and 2 on PS2 and lot it with this guy. It's a beautiful trilogy. But as I say that, I realize there's an OG Xbox version of Dead to Rights and Dead to Rights 2. Like, I can do that here. What a cool little offbeat series, Dead to Rights. And this is by far the best one, Dead to Rights Retribution. Great gameplay, cool game. I'd say it's like on par with a Splatterhouse as far as like Namco print run goes, you know. It is truly uncommon. Good game. They didn't make enough of them for how good of a game it was, you know. I'd say that same about Splatterhouse for PS3 and 360. Cubed for 20, not much to be said, just good content value. One of those games that gets kind of under pressure when 360 speculation goes up. It's like, oh, that's one of them games, you know. Res HD being the main piece there. Call of Cthulhu, always been a kind of a chase OG Xbox game. It's like, it's funny how nerfed the OG Xbox prices are. My video's still going. Wow, this is a long one. So nerfed to where like this would be like top tier OG Xbox collectible status, you know. Kind of what 99.5 percentile of like priciest OG Xbox games, and it's $55. It's just kind of how nerfed Xbox is, and it's always been a hot one. It's always been one that for years and years, man, going back to pre-2010 even, like if I saw this game in nice shape CIB, I go, ooh, that's a special one. And it's just, I guess I'm glad I didn't put all my money into one title and made it this game, because it really hasn't appreciated much, but it certainly hasn't gotten any more common. I think it's cool as ever. There is a game called Call of Cthulhu something else, different subtitle, on Xbox One, but it is not a port of this, you know. Like, this is still its own game. It's on PC also, but like whatever the Xbox One Cthulhu game is, they're not the same at all, you know. So this is still the console version of this dark first-person shooter horror. God, I'm drawing a blank here. Lovecraftian. There you go. There's the big word. Lovecraftian. Hey, look at that. That's a cool little pair up with Cubed. Little digital store combo pack. Got Limbo and Trials, Explosion Man, Res, Luminous Live. There you go. 2 exclusives. Cool. $10. Just as a genre. BlazBlue. $10. Yeah. And another G.I. Joe. $10 on 360. Just better than the price kind of game. It's better than $10. I'll take it. Another one that's better than 10 is Dark Alliance 2. Well, that's 15. But this is, I feel, like a project piece where it's like, I can't just let this sit in rad junk as a disc and nice manual. Like, alright, I'll go try to source an empty case. Maybe I'll find a case, missing manual. You know, I'll snag that for a good deal, and then I'll CIB it up. And then I'll have a disc only to sell separate. But I don't know, I see a disc in a case, and I just feel like I need to save it. You know what I mean? I can save it. I can make it better. It's gonna sit at rad junk. So sad. 15. I'm gonna save it. All right. Final stretch here. Blood Omen 2, that's just a lot piece. I just needed it for my Legacy of Kain thing. I like hoarding PS2 light gun games. Any light gun game, PS1 or PS2. It's one of those offbeat, you know. Not all people can just see that by the front cover and go, oh, that's a light gun game. You know, because it doesn't say Namco on it. You know. But it's a light gun game. I got plenty of GunCon 2s, GunCon 1s. I just need to start stashing away the light gun games so I can eventually make my way around to testing all the light guns and putting all the games together and doing little eBay lots with a bunch of light gun games and a gun. Not much to say here. Just I like the $10. I know this is a great game. I need to watch like a playthrough of this. I heard it's really funny. It kind of gives me like Baldur's Gate, like I just showed Dark Alliance 2. Kind of gives me Baldur's Gate kind of vibes off of the gameplay that I've seen. But I heard like the dialogue's just really funny. The whole thing is like a bunch of pointless side quests, and you know, it's a bunch of tropes from that genre of action RPG, medieval, yada yada. $10. You know, I just needed this because I got the first game. I got a disc only of the first game. This is like a player's copy. You know, got a ring there. Not a great case. Pair it with a disc only of the first game for Blade 1 and 2. There you go. 2 players' copies. Now this is some cool stuff. PS2. This is the really cool stuff. I love this stuff. 2 copies of Rumble Roses. Konami. Kind of a beat 'em up wrestler type of game. Beatdown. Look at this feng shui. These two go together. Urban Reign and Beatdown. I heard this game's really silly with like outfits that you can get and like street beefs that you can get into and dialogue, and it's very just over the top, campy, silly. Makes you think of oh Jesus, what's the Sega series called? Yakuza. Kind of Yakuza-y, you know? Almost like a Yakuza level of silliness. And it's just a really good beat 'em up. I feel like these two would go really well together, though. The same guy that wants an Urban Reign would love a Beatdown, you know? Look at that. Great. Great together. So, could even pair in a Rumble Roses, you know? Why not? Look at that. That's nice. So, 35 on Beatdown. 65 on Urban Reign, but it's nice. Hard to find this game in nice shape. 65 is pretty on point. Pretty good deal, honestly. Rumble Roses were 30 and 35. I think just priced at different times. They're kind of equal condition. Spy Fiction. I love this game as far as a little collectible. It's director Swery65. He did Extermination on PS2. He did Spy Fiction on PS2. And he did Deadly Premonition on 360. And he's just, all of his games have kind of a shared universe. There's shared character names and stuff. Like, they have really nothing in common with each other other than, like, I don't know, it kind of reminds me of like a budget Kojima. And like that, Swery's always kind of ripping off other people. Like Extermination was kind of a rip off of Resident Evil a little bit of oh god, The Thing, kind of. Like, Extermination was kind of like his take on The Thing. Spy Fiction is like his take on Metal Gear. And then Deadly Premonition is his take on Twin Peaks. So he's always ripping off other people, putting his own Japanesey, bizarre twist on shit. And very uncommon game. Sammy Studios published. You don't see that too often. They're always pretty low print on their stuff. Cool niche hipster title there, Spy Fiction, PS2. Got 4 copies of Cookie and Cream off of Joe. I won't even get into why he's got 4 copies. It was funny though. Like, yeah, I'll explain it. There's a dude local that was like all butthurt that he couldn't find a copy of Cookies and Cream anywhere. And it's like, dude, there's plenty on eBay. He's like, I don't want to pay that price. So Joe's like, fine, I'll get you one. And he bought like 6 of them. And now I'm going to deliver one of them to that individual. And I got 4 more for a smoking good deal. Call them 25 trade apiece. So 4 copies of Cookie and Cream. One of them I've got lined up to sell or trade. The other 3, I'm going to have to find more people that want a Cookie and Cream. Last few here, last story. Joe had it at home. I think he was probably going to go to Rad Junk. He just picked it up, I think, at Siege. I traded for it at 90 trade. It's worth about 100 in exactly this, like a sealed $100 plus some shipping on eBay. But like, this just had a little bit of crushing to it, just a little bit more worn than like the copy I saw for $100 on eBay. So not much to be said. I don't want to make a long story over last story, but it's just one of those quintessential, top 3 RPG lovers, like must plays on the Wii. So it's probably gonna, until it gets remastered or whatever, if it never does, it's gonna keep creeping up. So a risk reward, but like I don't have any other copies of the last story, so I like to speculate on Wii. I've got a few copies of other RPGs, but last story is just one that I've never really picked up. So whatever, sealed copy, $90 trade into it. Emily the Strange is one that Joe had a duplicate of, and his other copy is a sealed one. So I asked him specifically, like, please let me get that. Like, I love my rare, obscure DS games. I know this one goes for quite a bit, and he still wanted a player's copy, so I had a card only, and I traded him, and I threw some trade value, not cash, but I forget what we did exactly. I think it was like 50 trade on top of the cart, something like that. Like, he hooked it up, but it left him with a cart so he could play it. And I've got a CIB of Emily the Strange, and I've got people that are really into these kind of niche, really uncommon DS games. I don't know what I'll do with it. I would love to trade it, but maybe play it slow. If I list it, it would probably be for a premium, just because it's very dry on eBay. So I could probably get away with a slight oversale on Emily. Quick little speculative take on Apocalypse. If you look at the cover of this game, you'll see very obvious Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis, this is like the only game that I think it's the only game he fully motion capped and voiced and like did facial scans, like it's him in the game. It's Activision's starring Bruce Willis, Apocalypse. And for this game, they made an engine dedicated to this game. And they used that same engine, modified it, and then made a game called Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. So this is like the precursor to Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Features Bruce Willis. While Bruce Willis is, you can see him in, what was that Saturn game? Die Hard Arcade. It's like, that wasn't actually Bruce Willis. He didn't do anything. He just, they used the IP of Die Hard. Even Die Hard Trilogy on PS1, he didn't do shit. He didn't voice act it. He didn't do anything. Die Hard Trilogy 2, Fifth Element on PS1. It's like, nah, he's not. He didn't do anything in there. The one game that he did was Apocalypse. So pick up Apocalypse. It's a cool game. Very arcadey. Like, solid. It has that screams PS1 vibes, just like a Tony Hawk Pro Skater does. Like, but it's a third-person action game. It's the most video game of video games on the PS1. Solid game. Fairly uncommon. And I'll tell you what, Bruce Willis is probably not going to live for much longer. And the day that he passes away, that game's going to go absolutely fucking bonkers. So, pick up Apocalypse, like, now. And, or pay a lot more for it later. That's how it works. And then you can wait a little bit longer, and then it'll come back down in price. But, you know, it'll never be the same. When Bruce passes, that game's going to just lock in at like $70. And it'll just never go back down. But for a hot moment, it's going to be well over $100. So there you go. That's your little tip. Apocalypse on PS1. Need for Speed. Not Need for Speed. NBA Street Volume 2. Xbox. Straight Trade to the Amazon homie. Speed Zone, just a weird little Wii game that I have an empty for, and I like my weird little rare Wii games that are very hard to find and kind of cool. So I got really happy to find that, honestly, because I got the empty on eBay just because I was like, fuck, I want a CIB, but there aren't any CIBs available. Got the empty for super cheap, and I got the disc for super cheap, so that felt good. Speed Zone, check that one out, it's cool. Syndicate Wars for $10. It's a cool one, a little undervalued there for the disc. I'm not surprised it was hanging around. Like, I can't imagine anybody would really know what that is or want to pay $10 for it, but that's the kind of stuff I'm looking for. Same can be said about Lucky Luke. Like, you really had to dig through their disc onlys. It's a lot of slop to dig through. Like, no insult to them. It just comes with the territory. Most of your disc onlys that aren't premium titles that are gonna enter the bin of discs that you gotta flip through are pretty the kinds of games that if they're good, you don't want them disc only, you know? And if they're bad, you really don't want them. So they're very cheap games there. But Lucky Luke was one that kind of stood out as a kind of more collectible title. $15. This is it, this final stretch. I've saved the most mediocre interesting for last. In hindsight, I probably glazed over the PS2 a little too fast. Like, Spy Fiction, I gave them time, but like truly the best, I properly gushed over the best. Probably some of that PS3 and some of that Sega stuff. But I get to end on a very mediocre climax. But I will say that actually cut right to the best part. So I'll save the worst for last. This light gun, it's called the Logic 3. You saw it hanging up on their accessory shelf. There's maybe a couple other guns, a couple third-party brand new controllers that they stock just, you know, for use, for need. But this Logic 3 is retro. This is of the era. It has a build quality that's like, I would describe it as, if you're familiar with the Saturn Stunner, you know, GunCon 1, maybe kind of similar volume to it. It's just thick, you know, it feels like a high caliber weapon in your hand. But what's great about this is the density. Like, it's got a good weight to it. It feels a little heavy. It feels very solid. And it's great. It's got the yellow port, a little bit higher accuracy. Some games require it. When you got a Konami Justifier light gun, it bypasses this. There is no this cable. I forget exactly what it does, how it plugs in. But Justifier does not have this. The GunCon does have this. So, and when you have a GunCon can play them all. GunCon can play Justifier games, I believe. Fuck, don't hold me to it. Look into it, do your own research. But the fact that this has the GunCon little video port there tells me it's gonna play everything I want to play, you know, with higher accuracy. But it also has a Saturn port, so it's PS1 and Saturn. So this is your do-it-all light gun. Play your Virtua Cop, your House of the Dead, your Crypt Killer, you know, you name it. On Saturn, you're good. PS1, you're good. $25 for this Logic 3. So No doubt in my mind, that's a badass, like, most interesting game. Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Impact. I saw $70 on it. I was like, what the hell is that? You had like two other Naruto games. They're like 25, $20 respectively. Nothing special, what you'd expect. But what is this? Older looking Naruto. You know, I didn't watch the show when he started looking that old. I watched like the first couple seasons or so. It's like, this is that later Naruto. This is really expensive, $70 for a PSP game. What's the deal with that? So, type it in, eBay. Cheapest one's like $110 listed. But you look at sold and it's like under 70. I think price charting says like $56, so it's like, where do you price this thing at? And I priced it at, give it to me. I'm trading for that. I'll throw it up for the cheapest price on eBay. I'm going to help people out. I'm going to go under the $110 guy. I'm going to try to go north of 70. You know what I mean? But like, truly a rare PSP game. I'm sure if you're a full setter, if you're just a Naruto fan, or if you're just curated taste, you want anime games, like, this is one that's, like, take note of. Remember Impact. I'm sure there's a couple other games that are kind of similarly Bandai Namco, very hard to find. Tenkaichi Tag, Dragon Ball Z. Like, there's a few Dragon Ball Z games, and I think they're all pretty uncommon. One of them is probably going to stand out high above the rest, but PSP gets weird, man. I don't know it that well. This one definitely caught me by surprise. Never seen it. Price of 70 was really what caught my eye. And then after price checking, I was like, yeah, I want to try that one out. On the market, I mean, And then Ease was just a blind bet at $30. Like, I know this game's great, so why not, right? $20 on Afterburner. I love games like this where they're Sega exclusive, only on PSP. There's no DS, there's no PS2. It's just on PSP. It's Afterburner. I know it's not made by Sega AM2, it's probably some third-party developer that they licensed and whatnot. But how rad is that, There's a few other PSP games, like Sega Rally Revo and Outrun 2006 Coast to Coast. I'm sure if you got like the full set of like Sega arcade games, arcade franchises that have a PSP counterpart, but it's pretty impressive. Sega Rally, Afterburner, Outrun. What else may be out there? I'm sure there's probably a couple that I can't think of. Maybe a couple that I've never heard of. But for $20 on Afterburner, yeah, I'm gonna blind. That's cool. That's for me kind of thing. And then the very last piece is one I want just off of instinct. When you see Gust, you think me gusta. Gust, me gusta. Koei Tecmo, Gust, always, it's like one's a subsidiary, It's like Gust is always going to be Koei Tecmo. But Gust, I know I sound retarded, but like you'll see this on some of the more premium Atelier games. You'll see that on, I believe, Sword of the Berserk, Band of the Hawk on PS4. Money. You see this on, I didn't really come prepared. I didn't take notes, but like, there just seems to be a niche, high quality, a premium. It's a badge of honor to see Gust. It's what I've just noticed. This is just kind of autistic game collecting value correlations going on. I would say a very young version of me witnessed this with a company called Working Designs and Atlas. I'd be like, oh, gee, these seem to be a little bit more premium. They're all they're slightly more expensive, relatively kind of the same as everything else, just a little bit of a Working Designs tax. And then over time, that tax became brutal. Atlas, Working Design, and right now, if you want to, catch one ahead of the curve kind of thing, like maybe not maybe remasters, maybe PS5 versions, maybe who knows. But I did like seeing, I was like, what date is this? And I saw 2015, 2016. So it's pretty dated, you know? It's like 10 years old at this point. And I don't think there's any kind of a port, remaster, PS5, you know? It seems kind of like a dated PS4. I doubt it's Xbox One. Seems like it's got the formula going on. And I don't know much about PS4. I don't really want to dig that deep. I don't want to become a speculator on PS4. I just kind of want to see the market emerge and then play ball from there. But he actually had 2 copies of this out on the shelf. Not sure if it was supposed to be there. I think everything over 20 was supposed to be behind glass. So they might want to, if they see this part of the video, they might want to fetch that other copy, put it behind glass. But we'll see on this. Yeah, a fun little tuck aside. I think that about does it. I'm not well versed on these kinds of videos, you know. Just going into detail on every little pickup, but that was fun. It's very late, a little buzzed. I think I covered everything. The one last little thing that would be a big thing would be to show some of the cool stuff that I brought out there that didn't sell or trade, because I brought all kinds of cool stuff, but maybe save that for another video. Cool Dave stock. The kind of stuff I bring out that managed to, like I said, I sold $1,650 worth of stuff. So $1,650 in trades, and then at least $6,000. I didn't really do the summation to get an exact number, but this was at least $6,000 of trades with rad junk, including like the Jusco N64 that's on the floor over here, and the little bit of Chris stuff there. You know, so it was a monster deal. Well worth a 2-hour recap. I hope you think so, at least. Anyways, I've been Warehouse Dave. This has been my Rad Junk 10-year anniversary trade night pickups. I'll see you next time.